G'day everyone, and a big welcome to the Big Swing No Ding podcast, sending those bales back to New South Wales since 2019. And we're back with another episode of The Ding, probably a bit earlier than some of you might have been expecting. It stumps for day 2 of the Sheffield Shield just wrapped up right now, and the reason why I wanted to jump on, match just ended a few minutes ago. I mean, stumps just did for the games between South Australia, Queensland, and Tasmania, New South Wales. The reason why, as you have seen by the title, is Mitchell Swepson. Oh boy! Now, this is I don't think people realise how good Mitch Swepson's run is right now. He has taken, he didn't really bowl much in the first game. He took a wicket, and then he's taken 4 wickets, 5 wickets, 5 wickets, and he's taken 5 wickets again. He's 555 after 24 overs, albeit against an absolute disarray South Australian batting lineup. But nonetheless, he is just like the way it's just ripping out of his hand at the moment. It is something to absolutely behold. And if you haven't been watching, I imagine most people have been. If you have been following the Sheffield Shield, you'll either been watching Will Bukowski bat or Cameron Green was batting again today. He made another 50. Bukowski, of course, made another double 100, which we'll save for another episode. But if you haven't been watching those guys, I highly, highly recommend you go and watch what Swepson's been doing. Just his consistent spells and his just willingness to attack the stumps has been an absolute sight to behold. And I think it is very, very safe to say that he is going to be our next test spinner, unless he absolutely just drops off out of nowhere or he gets a shoulder injury, something like that. But let's definitely not hope that. He's only 27 years old. Nathan Lyon isn't. I can't actually remember how old he is. It might be 36, 34, something like that. But regardless, so I just looked at the stats just before I went on here, very quickly, and it was I don't want to sound any alarm bells here, but Mitch Swepson, since the Sheffield Shield restart has taken 20 wickets at 18. And Nathan Lyon has taken 6 wickets at 55.33. Now, that's not good for Nathan Lyon because he is going to play he's going to play all the tests against India, right? And we definitely want him to be performing much better. But what it does mean is, it means that Mitch Swepson is a lot closer to the side than we previously thought. Because even though he got added to the test squad last year, it was just for the Sydney test, and we all knew that he was unlikely to be added, just given how well we were going, and furthermore, it was only if it was going to be a rank turner, and because that's historically has just been the Sydney pitch. But I think even if it is, it doesn't necessarily have to be a dust bowl at Sydney this year. I think it just has to be like a sort of standard like last year, and I think that it'll be absolutely worth a shot giving Mitch Swepson a go because he has just been on an absolute mission. I haven't looked at his economy or strike rate, but I imagine it's very low because he bowled 24 overs today and took 5 for 55, which is exactly what you want out of especially your leg spinner, your main frontline. He's been their main frontline bowler for Queensland, which is just perfect. He's out bowling Michael Neser and Mark Steckety. Brendan Doggett just got a recall, which is kind of interesting. But big guys like Neser and Wildermuth. Neser's might not get into the test squad now. I don't know, but it's really good to see that from our backup spinner. And what it sort of made me realise is, and again, this is something that a lot of people get caught up in, is just looking at a quick few innings, a quick few matches in the Shield and saying, yep, in the team, or this is the future of our squad, right? Like, you look at Lloyd Pope, 2 years ago took an 8 vote, and then since then he's averaged, I think, it's been over 100, or 100 or over 80. I can't. His 5 in the first game might have saved it, but it's like, I think it's pretty safe to say he won't be our big next bowler. But I just on a side note, I like that South Australia are persisting with him. It's good energy for them to get some sort of direction. But I think it's like the way Swepson is attacking and the way it's just ripping out at the moment. It's seriously, it's reminiscent of a number one Test strike spinner, and for that reason, I would not be surprised if by next summer, like not this summer against India, although I believe Mitch Swepson is at this point an 82% chance to make his Test debut this summer. I believe he will be the full-time spinner. And this is a very gutsy call. I believe he'll be the full-time Test spinner by next summer, or at next summer, some point next summer. He will take the reins from Nathan Lyon, whether that's from Lyon retiring, or whether that's from Swepson just straight up overtaking him. And that's sort of crazy to think about because Nathan Lyon has been our best bowler for the last decade, just like out and out consistency wise. And now that I'm saying that, it's sort of that's a pretty big task for Swepson to overcome, just because he's Nathan Lyon, he's the greatest off spinner we've ever produced. But it's such an exciting time for us right now because it looks like at this point Will Pucovski is almost a lock to make the second opening position his. Back double hundreds. I think it's only the 8th time in Sheffield Shield history. First time in 23 years, and then Cameron Green made another 50 today, and his bowling rather is only getting stronger. It's only getting more threatening, and it's getting more consistent. As I said, he only has to average 30 at this point, and he will be easily the best all rounder in the country, and he is definitely doing that. He's keeping the runs down well. He can't necessarily take a wicket against the likes of Marcus Harris and Will Pucovski, but it looks like those guys are going to be coming in pretty soon, potentially this summer. I mean, Bukovski will play this summer. I have very low doubts about that. Cameron Green could, and then I think Swepson is perhaps more likely than Cam Green, and he's sort of been the forgotten, in a way, next generational bowler in the last couple of summers, because everyone's been so focused on these massive run scoring or this generational all-rounder that they've sort of just forgotten that, hey, we've got a really, really tiny leg spinner here that is really coming into his prime. He's been thereabouts for a few years now. He was in the squad taken to India in 2016 or 2017, and he'd only played in 15 first-class matches. He's 27 years old, which is a bit older than you would consider for a next-gen player. But again, he's a leg spinner. And all we need is just someone who can just fill the gap for another 5 or 6 years. But actually, no, make the gap his own. He can be the lock, until, just for argument's sake, Tanvir Sangha or Will Parker, come through and they become potential Test incumbents, which would be really cool. That would be really, really cool. Because I think I can speak for just about everyone here when I say Mitch Swepson is he's one of the most likeable bowlers in Australian cricket at the moment. Whether you see him playing in the Big Bash, whether you see him playing in the Sheffield Shield, he's so watchable. The way he's a very classic leg spinner, but he's also makes it his own. He goes right up to the stumps and he makes the batsman think twice in one stroke play. Now, you can never get comfortable when you play Mitch Swepson. He's always going for your pads. And to that, I really, really like how that presents itself for the Test team, especially when you got guys like Pat Cummins is up the other end, Josh Hazlewood. Mitch Starc, by the way, has been kind of average to start the Shield season. I'm not too worried about it, like because he's Mitch Stark, but we've still got James Pattinson on the sidelines. He's coming off an all right BBL. IPL. Speaking of IPL, Marcus Stoinis is just having like a tournament of his life. We might honestly have to pick him for the ODI team now, which I'm all for if he can perform like he has been in the IPL, because he's been making finishing runs and he's been taking very handy wickets, which is pretty nice. Mitch Swepson, I think he is definitely the go. And if you are not, you haven't been really keeping up to date, and this is sort of like the first you've heard, or you like sort of seen, Mitch Swepson Fifer, I highly recommend, because it's only it's just finished day 2, and South Australia is 9 down. So assume that Queensland clean them up with in the first few overs of day 3 tomorrow. You will see them highly likely to enforce the follow-on. And to that, I highly recommend you go and get onto cricket.com.au and live stream it to watch Mitch Swepson bowl, because he is, honestly, he's just the most comfortable thing to watch at the moment. For mine, that's what I was doing today. Of course, I saw Bukowski make his double 100. That was always something I wanted to keep on my mind. And then I watched Cam Green for a bit. But then once I quickly realised how good Mitch Swepson is and how bad South Australia are, it's something you sort of have to see. Who doesn't love a leggy just ripping, causing absolute havoc through a helpless team, really? That's what we saw Shane Warne do for his entire career. And Swepson isn't Shane Warne, but he can be the next Mitch Swepson. And I think that's something that the Australian public need to come to terms with. They need to sort of just embrace a player as they are, and stop making instant comparisons. I see, Lloyd Pope used to be compared to Shane Warne. Bowls nothing like him. He is his own player. If he was going to succeed, if he was going to thrive at international level especially, he was not going to be a Shane Warne bowler. He was going to be a Lloyd Pope bowler. Mitch Swepson is much the same, just his attacking sort of game style. It's nothing that the Australian team have had really since Warne's departure, and even then, Warne was, he was very daring, but he had a really good cricket mind. Shane Warne, of course, he was never someone you would actually make captain of your team, because he'd go out and do something stupid, but he's definitely he's got one of the best cricket brains in the business. And I think Swepson, the way he thinks towards the batsman is relatively similar, but the way he goes about it is sort of his own thing. So I'm looking forward to seeing Australia produce Mitch Swepson and not another Shane Warne, and it's you can say the same thing for Cam Green. I don't want him to be an answer for Andrew Flintoff. I want him to be Cam Green. I think that'll just about do it. A shorter episode today. Just a quick little snippet. In day 2 of the Shield, Bukowski is a lock for the team. Don't give me any more questions. Who else? Travis Head's good. But he's not good enough, because Mitch Swepson is incredible. And there's no other way to put that. It's beautiful watching him bowl again. And I think that'll just about do it. So remember to play it through, and I'll see you guys later. Okay, good.